started off by measuring my waist. A rough way to figure out how much material you need is a ratio of 3 to 1 or 4 to 1, depending on how poofy you want the tutu. That means for every 1 inch of your waist, you'll need 3 inches of fabric, or 4 respectively. Don't get crazy with multiplication though, you can attain a good amount of flounce by adding tiers. So here's my tool, and remember, a tool's inexpensive and won't fray. And here's the sewing machine. How'd you do? Alright, so make yourself a 3/4 inch wide hem at the edge of the tool, on the long side. It'll look something like this. Now you need to gather it. I know you thought I'd just use some elastic and call it a day, but I'm not a big fan of my ruffles moving in all kinds of places, and elastic also tends to roll around. So this is my control ribbon. How'd you do? And it's on a safety pin, so it's easier to guide through the hem I just made. There's another pin at a pre-measured spot, so the end result is the length of my waist. See? Nice and frilly. Next, sew the gathers. This part is tricky. I'm not saying you should shove the fabric under the presser foot, but coax them gently so they bunch up politely. Try not to sew the ribbon if you're using one. This is my first time gathering like this ever. I unfortunately made it too long, so I had to go over it again. And there you go. Repeat this for each tier of tool you plan to use. Oh, and listen, that last segment would help if you're making a single layer of tulle. But if you happen to be using a length that's been folded in half, bless your heart, you adventurous doll you. Here's what I did. This stuff is so frackin' flimsy. I ironed it, but it still tends to float around, even with straight pins. So I safety pinned it along the folded edge. This part is hard to explain. I needed ample room to gather on this one and had a rough time keeping the seam at the right distance from the needle, so I had to improvise. Turned out the ruler didn't fit, but this did. Got a nice even hem. Let me remind you again not to get crazy with the length of the tool. I swear this tier shaved a month off of my life. Ta-da! Double thickness tool. Now to gather this thing. Deep breaths, don't drown in tulle. Once again, I have the control ribbon through the hem with a few safety pins holding the ribbon steady at various points of the material. Don't ask me why I didn't do this to begin with. This is my first time too. I ended up with this, and here's a double thickness tier. I moved on with some more layers, and this is the bunch. Before you settle down for the night, and you'll want to, grab the material you want to use for the waistband. Yeah, you could wear the tulle the way it is, but it's kind of irritating for that stuff to be all on you like that. Go ahead and cut 2 strips for the waistband. 2, because it'll be lined, and the top layer will conceal the ugly stitching that will soon follow. Mine are about 5 inches wide, plus margin for error. Your band can be as thick or as thin as you like, just make enough room so the top of your tulle won't be showing over the band. Now, go to bed. You deserve a rest. Wakey wakey, eggs and bakey, sew a 1/2 inch hem on the long edges of your waistband. You'll close it up later. Pin your top layer to the band from the center out. This part is rough because you may have landed with a little less or a little more than your actual waist measurement. Just tuck it under when you're at the beginning and end of your band, or cut the tulle to fit. Sew gently. And there you go. Remember that outfit from Teen Witch? How 80s of you. You could definitely stop there. It's cute as is, but I wanted to see what I could come up with, so I kept going. Push layer 1 upside down and pin layer 2 so that its top butts up to the bottom of the first layer. Pin from the center out and sew. Repeat with all your tiers. Now, this is pretty frackin' flustering, so please take your time or else you'll make stupid mistakes such as this. Take a deep breath, break out your seam ripper, and move along. Last tier for me, and then we close this bad boy up. Whip out your other waistband half and stitch the top to the top of the band with the tulle attached. Be patient and tuck in any of your top layer that may have crept out on you. You'll end up with a sandwich of fabric. Stitch up the sides, folding them back to clean up the edges, then stitch the 2 bottom hems of the waistband. This part isn't super difficult, but it's hard to see the bottom hem between so many layers of tulle. In the end, you'll only have a few stitches showing on the front of the waistband, and all of your mistakes will be on the back, the part that faces your belly. Okay, almost done. Get some closures. You can use Velcro, buttons, a zipper, or I just found these a few years ago and had nothing better to do with them. Make sure you sew them on the right way, or you'll have to undo and repeat. And there you go. Here's the back, and the front, or vice versa. I ended up trimming it a lot, actually. If I were to do anything different, I would have kept everything about the length of the red. It's a good Pat Benatar length, and you could probably wear it with jeans or something. But as it is, mine is good for an angry fairy or rebel ballerina costume or something. Who knows, I may end up trimming it again.